Hello and welcome to Insurance Made Simple. My name is Brian. Today we're going to give you a quick COVID-19 FEMA update. I'm going to talk about this year's hurricane season. I'm going to review the biggest misconception about flood insurance that exists out there, and I'm going to teach you some flood terminologies. Let's get at it. So quickly, COVID-19 FEMA update is if you have a FEMA flood insurance policy, and it has an expiration date of February 13th through June 15th of this year, FEMA is automatically extending their grace period for you from 30 days to 120. Pretty cool. Thanks, FEMA. All right, let's talk this year's hurricane season. Of course, it officially started June 1st. It runs through the end of November. Obviously, the biggest months that have the most impact are August and September. In fact, September, since 1980, there's been 52 storms in Maryland just in the month of September. Only half as many in August and November. So September is the biggest hurricane month of the season. What reminded me of that is I was riding my bike one day down at the inlet in Ocean City, and the water was really tumultuous, and the weather was starting to get bad. So I got off my bike and I went out on the boulders and started shooting some pictures. In fact, let me share a couple of them with you. So as you can see, the water was pretty rough out there, and I started thinking, I wonder, how did these boulders get here anyway? This jetty that I was sitting on. So I did a little research, and I found out back in 1933 there was a Chesapeake-Potomac hurricane that actually created that inlet that everyone enjoys today. Prior to that, there was no inlet there. So the boulders were actually installed by the Army Corps of Engineers, and obviously they did that to keep the sand at bay. We're only a couple miles from there, so I thought I'd share that story with you. That takes me to my biggest misconception about flood insurance. Everyone thinks that flood insurance is included in their homeowners policy. It is not. In fact, it is excluded. If you look at your policy, you will find, your homeowners policy, you will find that 99 out of 100 times there's an exclusion. It's called flood damage exclusion in your homeowners policy. So if there is a storm, you will not be covered with your homeowners policy. You need a flood insurance policy. That is provided through FEMA, and they go up to $250,000 for structure, and that is what you need, especially if you're in an area that's considered a barrier island like we are. So I would highly recommend looking into getting a FEMA flood policy, regardless of whether you're required to do so by your mortgage company. So that's my biggest advice for you today regarding flood insurance. Better to be prepared, better to be covered than to find yourself homeless and no money to rebuild and no insurance to help you. And by the way, you can get more coverage than the $250 that FEMA provides through what's called excess flood carriers if you happen to have a property that would take a lot more than $250,000 to rebuild. So, finally, let's review some flood terminologies. First of all, there's a flood advisory. That is the point where they're saying, be aware. There's a flood potential. Then it elevates to a flood watch. That's taking it from being aware to being prepared. And then, of course, the highest is a flood warning. The flood warning is a take action, imminent danger. Do it now. And that is not the time to think about buying flood insurance, because they won't even let us write a policy when there's a named storm on the way or here. And even if they do, there's a 30-day waiting period. So I highly encourage you to do it before the August, September timeframe. And finally, I'm going to include an article from the Better Homes and Gardens called the Ultimate Flood Preparedness Checklist. It has 9 items you will find very useful during a hurricane or any national disaster for that matter. I'm going to focus my next video on hurricane preparedness or natural disaster preparedness and what we all should do just in case. So I hope you found value in this video, and if you did, please subscribe, hit the bell. You'll get notified of any time I create future videos. And remember, I created this channel to help make insurance simple for you. Thank you. Make it a great day. Bye-bye.